Hello, welcome to the Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast, as voted on by us, the hosts of the Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast. It's Monday, the 7th of March, 2022. I'm Nick Richardson, and today I am joined, as always, by Peter Burns.
Hello.
And he's a pretty chill dude and always keen for a chat. He tries to read the chat as much as he can, and he always tries to reply to everyone. It's Panda.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing, man?
Yeah, pretty good. Just chilling. Just as we spoke about before, I'm sort of just awake, so a lot going on today. So this rain is killing me.
You've had a nightmare night. Like, most people are like, I'm really tired because I stayed up playing video games. You were in the middle of a healthy sleep. You were getting some much-needed shut-eye, and then your entire suburb shut down.
Yeah. It's my beauty sleep, and I really need it now. I'm upset. I'll use that excuse for the next year. So
good. Panda, it's a delight to have you with us today. For those watching who don't know who you are, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and what you do on the internet?
So Panda or Panda TV. I've been streaming now for almost 10 years full time at 106-month resub. Yesterday when I streamed, so it's been quite a while. Yeah, it's been a while. I'm mostly known for playing World of Warcraft. I pretty much just stream one game for majority of the time that I've streamed. I enjoy it. I've been trying to do a little bit more variety and stuff, but obviously that comes with the sort of variety curse. But I just play WoW, and chat sucked the soul out of my body about, 6 years ago. And so now I just keep going. So I was so happy 6 years ago. Thank you.
When you wrote the bio that I read out from your Twitter page, from your Twitch page, back when you were happy and enjoyed that. Yeah.
What's the name of the Twitter, I'll call it bot, that just tweets moments like kind of at you and about you?
Yeah, Panda clipped and shipped. So the guy actually can tweet from my account now. We stopped that.
Oh, really?
Because it's like a long-term member of my community.
Yeah.
Who owns an editing company, and he just watches the channel while he's editing videos for his job.
Oh, cool.
And because he's been around for years and years, I was like, "Hey, dude, you just want to be able to tweet from my account because these are great."
Yeah.
And so now he just tweets them from mine. So yeah, but it was called Panda Clipped and Shipped.
Such gold.
I don't know if you saw the I Hate Children one, but it was probably the best and the worst thing that's happened. So yeah.
That's giving him access, because that's your personal Twitter, right? This isn't just like a Panda TV Twitter. This is like your Twitter. That's some real trust.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't do anything weird or sus on my Twitter anyway, right? So it's like I don't really talk to anyone. I'm too busy playing games, so he can go. It's all right.
And so you mentioned you're a big WoW streamer. There was a WoW patch pretty recently that was pretty big. Is that what you're playing at the moment, or are you dipping your fingies in anything else?
It's hard. Like, this is such an insane month for gaming, right? There's obviously Lost Ark. I've been waiting for that game for years and years. I think the original trailer was like 7 years ago. I flew to Korea twice to play it.
Wow.
I was in Korea and got the chance to play it quite a bit because it's been out in Korea for ages. Elden Ring is insane, so I want to put more time into Elden Ring. And then obviously, with the new WoW patch, we got the new raid, so I'm very, very busy with that. So I just don't have time to play other things that I want to. And for once, it's a month where we have content. There's so many other games that I want to play. So Destiny 2, there's new content as well.
Don't talk about Destiny.
Don't talk to Pete about Destiny. He was doing that raid for 18 hours yesterday.
Yeah, I did that. We had a crack at day one. Yeah, we got disconnected once, so we didn't get affected by it too badly. But we do blame that for not being world's first. We didn't actually clear it in the end. We got to the final boss and just we weren't putting up the damage, so we called it after 20 hours. I think it was 19, 20 hours.
Yeah, right.
It was just that's enough Destiny for one day for an old man.
Also, once you clear that, you're done with the game until the next expansion.
Yeah.
You're not dipping back in. All right. Well, what we are going to dip into is the rest of the show, and a big thank you, of course. Speaking of dipping, you could dip a biscuit in a cup of coffee. That's something that maybe some psychopath would do. And if you wanted a cup of coffee to dip that bicky in, then why don't you get yourself a fresh Pixel Beans brew? Pixel Beans have come on board for March as well to sponsor the show. You can get your back podcast fix once a week, but make sure you get your coffee fix daily with Pixel Beans. And not only are they the nerdiest coffee roasters in Australia, but they are running a competition to give away a customized Pixel Beans PS5. These are impossible to find, even more difficult to find with the Pixel Beans decals on them, but equally as difficult to find just the normal your home brand PlayStation 5. But you can win a PlayStation 5. All you need to do, every 250 grams of beans purchased from Pixel Beans will get one entry into the competition to win the PS5. And on top of that, you can get those 250 grams of beans for 20% off by using the code BACKPOCKET when you head to pixelbeanscoffee.com.au. To get 20% off your purchase, use the code BACKPOCKET and get in the running to win a PS5. The competition, I believe, is drawn at the end of the month. Head to pixelbeanscoffee.com.au and use the code BACKPOCKET when checking out for 20% off. Thank you, Pixel Beans, for getting me out of bed in the morning. Thank you for getting the show subbed right. And thank you for being at least one more PlayStation 5 out into the wild. All right, Pete, let's get this.
I'm already on my second double shot.
Yeah, I can imagine. we'll ship some to Panda as well. Let's get this news going because it's certainly not going to break itself. The backup is presented by one of our top stitch patrons and the best evil person we know, God, who seems to be really sleeping on the job globally right now. Evil Spy Boy. Get your exclamation mark Spy Boys out in the chat because thanks to his generous Patreon support, Evil Spy Boy is bringing you the backup and he's hoping you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provides regular breakfast to more than 132,000 students at schools around the country. And on top of this, more than 200,000 kids seek food relief from their charities every single month. Donate at foodbank.org.au. There's a link in Nightbot and head to tasteofbaltifish.com for more info about Evil Spy Boy's proclivities. Okay, let's back it up and look at the biggest stories of the week as voted on by us, the host of the backup, where we back up, look at the biggest stories of the week. And Panda, you are our guest. So I want you to tell me the story this week that made you back up and go, hey, this is the biggest story in not just gaming, the world.
The world, yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of backing up, I guess it's sort of a part of it, but I don't know if many people have seen, but Amouranth. So I don't know if you know if you watched the Vice documentary they did on her recently. For perspective,
no, I haven't. No.
She just bought her second 7-Eleven / gas station for $10 million because it offset her tax bracket, so she ended up paying less tax. So she's doing very well for herself.
Diversify your assets. Buy a 7-Eleven.
So
she spent. Well, I was going to. That would mean that she spent $10 million to actually save money.
Yeah, so that was the whole point. She was very honest about it and stuff like that. She also bought a ball company. You know how she does a lot of like hot tub streams and streams where she sits in like a ball.
Like the party ball pit thing.
Yeah, so she bought a party ball company. Just bought it.
That's smart. That's smart.
Yeah, yep.
That's amazing.
So she makes about $1.5 million US a month from OnlyFans, she was saying. So doing quite well for herself. And this week, the big news, I guess, was that she's now selling farts in a jar for $1,000 and also bathwater. But here's the kicker. She has a full team of people that catch the farts. It has been tested according to the website that they have set up. There is a system, and each jar has a piece of hair in it.
Wait, a piece of hair
from where? That came out with the fart?
The butt.
I don't know. Yeah. I hope it's not butt hair. That'd be. I don't know.
Just like so tweezers on the little fine ass hairs and pluck one in.
Okay.
You mentioned that she has a team catching these. I assume they're catching hers. She doesn't have a team doing the farting.
Doing farts into jars.
I don't want to buy just some.
No,
you want the legit thing, not a knockoff fart. Yeah, okay, good.
They're $1,000 each, by the way.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'd pay for a fart. If I was going to pay for a fart, if I was ever going to pay for a fart, it would be $1,000 because I would be the kind of person that's going to pay for a fart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's either 50
you don't pay for farts
or $1,000. Yeah. Like there's nothing. It's not like $150.
There's no logical
That's a
number.
waste of money. Yeah.
Fair enough.
And so
I think it's the team that kills me. Like, imagine trying to. You could get paid $500,000. I mean, 500. I'd probably. Yeah. Imagine trying to explain that. Hey, babe, got a new job today. Oh, sick. What do you do? Well, hey, listen.
I hold the jars.
It's a little different.
Yeah. I'm on a team. And I'm wondering if it's like there's an allocated day where she's like, okay, today's the day we're going to catch 30 of them. Or if they just need to follow
beans
her
for breakfast.
And when she's like, oh, guys, I feel one coming,
ready.
and someone grabs a jar. And so if it's like ad hoc, or if it was, you know, today's the fart day, tomorrow is admin, Thursday is streaming.
Well, and this, I wish I was joking while I say this out loud. There was another influencer from the UK who I think she was on like a reality TV show and became quite famous from that. She was selling farts in a jar about 6 months ago.
How much was she charging?
I'm not too sure. But she ended up in hospital because she was trying to fart too much. And so she stopped. So I think Amouranth has learned from that, as you would.
Yeah.
And she's just doing them on the fly. When she's ready, the team is swoops in and just you don't want to put too much pressure, you know. So
also, I don't know if this just says something about me, but like I would just sell basically the jars and not fart in them, or maybe just like capture something else to put in there. Like, is anyone going to know? By the time it travels
as soon
all
as
the
that
way
news,
to...
as soon as that news comes out and you get ousted as
one of the team
fake farter, I mean, that's a badge you can't lose. You know, it's a smear to the name. Fake farter for life.
That's actually so much worse than selling your farts in a jar. Is saying that you're doing that and not even doing that.
Yeah. At least commit to that at $1,000 a pop. Fart in the jar.
At least.
And pay some kid like $60K a year to stand behind you with a jar when required.
Just waiting. Can you imagine the tweet longer
comes
out if it was fake, where it's like, I used to be on Amouranth's team for the fart jar, and I want to come out and tell everyone this has all been fake.
They were my farts.
Totally. They're not real farts.
They were my farts.
And then we'd get a yellow notes app apology from her Twitter account. It'd just be the whole thing. Now, all of this, of course, is fucking ridiculous. But you are, Panda, you are a streamer who's been going on forever. Obviously, like, she makes a fortune. I don't think there's a lot of people out there buying $1,000 fart jars. If they are, like, she'll probably sell some, but it's not like she's going to make a fortune from this comparative to everything else she's doing. The
girl that was doing the other farts in the jar, who is nowhere near as big as her, made over $350,000 US in a month.
All right, so I'll shut the fuck up about that. She's going to make a fortune.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's one of those things where I've always been fascinated by her, because I think that, like, she cops a lot of flack from people, and some of it I'm like a lot of the stuff that she's doing, I'm just like, oh, it's so transparent what you're doing. But at the same time, she's just marketing herself and she is differentiating herself and doing something. Like, she has gotten more publicity for this than like, by doing this, it's basically free publicity. We're talking about her on this show. People watching right now, some of them will not have known about it, even though
some have already pre-ordered a fart from next season.
Kit Carnage has already bought one. We know that for sure. And even though I do look at it, I'm just like, this is just the end times. How hard is it as a dedicated streamer to differentiate yourself? Like, you must be dealing with this stuff all the time.
So this is obviously something that we talk about all the time in chat, right? People come in and say something, especially when the documentary came out, or when something goes trending within the just chatting or ASMR licking stuff and all that, everything, right?
Yeah.
And here's how I see it, right? The best way to explain, I think, to a lot of people, if like Amouranth _fan_69, right, comes onto Twitch and Amaranth's not live, his next backup option isn't, oh, well, let's see if Panda's on, right? That's not the next go-to, right? So this mindset of like people are stealing our views or something like that is so ridiculous, right? And in regards to, is there an element of jealousy, right? Absolutely. I'm jealous of anyone making $1.5 million a month off OnlyFans, right? And that's before all your other income. That's before your Twitch money. When you average, the moment your stream turns on, it's $3 donation every second. The moment you turn your stream on, $5 donation, just so someone can talk to you. They're getting thousands of subs a day. Of course, there's an element of jealousy. In terms of anger or anything like that, why would I be angry? Like, is some people get so furious about this sort of stuff, but how could I sit there and tell someone that if I could make millions of dollars doing that I wouldn't do it? Of course I would. Yeah. Of course I would. How do I have the right to be angry at anyone else? If I could do what she does, I would do it in a heartbeat. What are people going to say?
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that. It'll be on the internet forever. You're making $1 million plus a month. Who cares? Who cares? So,
yeah. You can buy a new identity when you turn 40 and want to leave that life behind. It's like,
so that's the thing, though, right? It's like she doesn't need to. She's bought 2 7-Elevens. She's bought a company, right? And so it's not like she's just sitting on this money. She's doing all these other things. So the argument a lot of people have is like, her looks are going to run out and she won't be able to do it anymore. She's obviously set up business after business after business. She's going to be fine. Yeah, exactly, right? So.
Yeah, that it is interesting going like it's not actively hurting anyone. It's so stupid, but I think it's like she's not the problem. The people buying the farts are the problem. Yeah. That's the thing that like the reward that you get for doing that. Yeah, it is that catch-22 of like, why would you not engage in that thing that's not like particularly actively harmful, except for just like weird. She's making an absolute killing.
I think there's definitely something to be said about how healthy it is for the people who are making purchases like that and becoming. It is obsessive behavior at that point, and that's part of what OnlyFans is as well. Is like obsessing over someone and idolizing them, which can be a really unhealthy thing. It's happened in history with rock stars and musicians and movie stars and stuff get it all the time. We're in a different space now where people who maybe aren't as well equipped or aren't in an industry that's as well equipped to deal with people who are like unhealthily obsessed with you. She seems to have a good team around her. Which is
when
good.
She was at BlizzCon, she had like a full security team that walked around with her and stuff like that. So
yeah, I bet.
I think she's she's doing well in regards to that. I think she's very careful.
Yeah. So I think there's obviously like absolutely she should be able to market herself, sell her brand however she wants, and if that's a fart in a jar, that's I don't care. But I worry about the people that are buying the jar that are also like buying the jar because they're unhealthily obsessed with her and aren't financially equipped to do that, but will do it anyway. So that's the moral thing that's where I go like, there's some moral ambiguity at this point where, and it's not on Amouranth. It's not her to fix it. It's building up better therapies for young boys, really. Well, to go like you don't need to spend $1,000 on a jar of fart to show your appreciation to this person.
Like if any of my friends were like, "Hey, I bought a fart in a jar for $1,000," you 100% skin cats like in your basement. Like that's how I'm looking at you for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like, I respect the hustle and all that sort of stuff. But if any of my friends or someone I know, someone came in my chat and they're like, "Hey, I bought an Amouranth fart." Yeah, you're now iSkin Cats boy in my head.
iSkin Cats _69.
Yeah, exactly right. So I think that's fair. So
yeah. The problem is not Amouranth. The problem is all the cat skinners. That's the real problem.
As a shout.
All right. All right, Pete. What story is being sold in a jar for you this week? Kocharat?
I just wanted to kind of talk about the state of Halo Infinite at the moment. It's coming up to the end of the first season. Well, there's still a bit of time before the end of the first season. It's starting May 3rd, the next season. And there's just like the messaging around Halo Infinite since launch has been awkward. The rollout of content has been pretty much non-existent. They've basically been on the back foot, developers. And just overnight, Halo Infinite's multiplayer lead, Andrew Witz, announced that they were leaving the studio. So
yeah, I saw that.
They're in a position where the foundation of this game is really solid, but there's a lot of work to do, and there's not been a great line of communication, or at least communication in the early days wasn't met. The checkpoints that they laid ahead for the future weren't met, and now people are like, all right, is this game dead? Of course, that's how people feel about games a couple of months after they come out, when they've had a slow launch. Totally. And it's about I don't think there's a game that's launched in the last 5 years that hasn't had an audience go, this game fucking sucks. The Total War Warhammer subreddit is going off, flaming it. Halo Infinite's Reddit is flaming it. I'm sure WoW people hate the new WoW raid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So can I put in a hot take here?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Do you know why people are complaining? Because Halo's dog water. That's why. I'm going to say it. If no one else is going to say it, it is dog water. That's why everyone's saying it.
I heartily disagree. In my opinion, is the best shooter
For
out.
podcast listeners, Pete is literally wearing a Halo t-shirt.
Absolutely.
Come on. You just go, brr, 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 and they're still alive. There's a clip of me running at a man in the back, shooting him, and it just goes. Brr, brr,
There's
brr,
definitely some networking issues. I'm saying when it's working at its best, it doesn't get any better than Halo. That is my opinion, and I will fight you. I'll fart in a jar at you.
Okay. They did. Yeah. Well, I strongly disagree about it being the best game. But can I give a shout out to someone?
Yeah.
Chiefs just won the Halo competition, which is the org that I'm with, and they didn't drop a single map. So I think that's good. So
yeah, Barcode in Oz. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're on an org that has a Halo team, and you're like, it's fucking shit.
But also, it's like Halo's fucking shit. It's dog shit. It's the worst shooter. These people won though, and I think that's good. You boys go get yours. So Pete, are they finally adding something to Halo? Because I fall somewhere between you and Panda. I'm more on your side. I really enjoyed Halo Infinite, and I got into that multiplayer hard over the holidays, and I just dropped off because it felt like I just wasn't seeing any more Halo content coming through. So
yeah, so there's yes, but only a small amount. Basically, bare minimum is happening at this next season. There's 2 new maps coming out. There's a big team battle map called Breaker, and there's just there's a screenshot from each. There's a big team battle map called Breaker, and there's an arena map called Catalyst. Very simple screenshots. This one's kind of exciting to me because it looks like map design wise, it could be echoing some things we've seen in the past, maps like Guardian and Lockout, classic Halo maps that are like, the pinnacles of the arena map series. Breaker, hard to get a take on a wide shot looking up at a structure, which obviously we're not fighting on or around that. We're going to be down here somewhere in this pit. So not a lot to pull from that other than at least it's orange, which is a different color tone to the other maps that are out, so it'll feel different when you load in.
Yep.
Yeah.
At least in regards to Halo, I know that I don't know how much is out about it now, but I know that they're putting within OCE anyway, they're putting in a decent amount of funding in terms of esports. So that's promising for it, right? That's
totally.
That's one good takeaway from it, I guess. So
they've committed. And there's also I mean they've got some serious network issues and stability issues, because even in the LAN has been mostly okay, and the bigger tournaments happen on LAN, but even this morning I was watching some of the EU tournament and a whole team dropped out because they're playing over network, and it's like, okay, they've put a bunch of money into prize pools. They've put a bunch of systems into the game to support it being a good esports experience from a viewer perspective. but there's still some stability issues that mean that every now and then a game drops, and that's a pretty disappointing thing too. And pretty frequently at some tournaments. And I don't think at this point, it's like, oh, this is like the North American production team sucks. No, it's consistently happening in all regions. There's some issue that, these networking experts at the broadcast places can't navigate. So something's going on. Hopefully they get it sorted. Obviously, 343 Industries released Master Chief Collection in a way that the game wasn't properly functional for 4 years. And by that point, anyone beyond a massive Halo fan is already gone, which is, at this point, the concern of Halo Infinite, right? That we could get to a point where we lose the bulk of the player base that aren't just hardcore Halo fans. And by that point, you've got Halo 5, which is just the pros are playing it for a fucking bag of Maltesers. I don't think it's I don't think it's unsalvageable at this point. I do think that obviously the mass audience has left. It's still very easy to find a game on an Australian ping. I can play all night on 5 millisecond ping. With wait times now, they changed the matchmaking so that it was at the start just find you a game really quickly, and so I was consistently changing my latency going to North American servers. I'd be on 5 milliseconds one game, and the next I'd be 200, which is frustrating. Consistent ping is okay. A consistent ping around 100 is manageable, but anything above that and anything that is so inconsistent, it's just so hard to work around. In a shooter like this, COD I think is different because COD's a different kind of game. The time to kill is so quick that if you change your play style to suit being in the right position, like map positioning, you can get around it a little easier. Whereas the time to kill in this is so long that if you get a shot off and you don't hit all your shots because your ping's bad, they can turn around and kill you and just outplay you. So it's that's the trick of Halo, is the time to kill over this networking is making it very obvious that there's network issues.
I saw that they're also. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna move on from the how it plays at the moment to the content that's coming out. There's there's a new battle pass, and they've said that the battle pass for season 2 has a bunch of story attached to it, which including cinematics and characters, and it'll be interesting to see. I think this was the vision of multiplayer for 343, was that it was a story based thing that could encourage people to play more for story kind of beats, not just the grind and the battle pass stuff. Because as you said, Nick, there's not much from an aesthetic battle pass kind of perspective that's that's excitingly different, because everyone's just a Spartan armor, which I think is good. I think if they wanted to go wild with it, they could, but in ranked, they would have to go you can only play, or it defaults you back to just a default skin, because it's by the time your head is this big because you're wearing a astronaut helmet or whatever, it's all right, what are the hitboxes and what am I looking at from a ranked perspective? Totally. It's it gets a bit loopy.
I ended up paying IRL money so I could have that samurai outfit.
Yeah.
The game sucks. Okay, it's necessity, right? As long as I look cool in the game. So.
Yeah, totally. As long as you got a spot on your shelf for the jar of fart, it's you may as well have it.
Yeah, most of
it. And then but the other big announcements were that the campaign co-op is not done. They're not going to have it ready for May 3rd for season 2, which is disappointing, but again, I think any of the hype around the launch is gone. I think at this point they need to slow down and reassess for a 2.0 marketing campaign. Wait until they got a bunch of content that could draw people back. Campaign co-op. Forge is not coming till season 3, which is another big delay, because the Forge mode is the community map building and theater and stuff, which gives... we see it all the time with communities. It's giving the community power to be the marketing engine, basically making content that is awesome, that's shareable, that's playable, with Forge in Halo. So
I think that'll be the big thing, right? Forge will bring a lot more people back, because the way that I look at Halo is from this perspective in terms of like streaming is I think Halo really matches what Halo was back in the day to an extent.
Yeah,
but there are just better FPS games out there in terms of what majority of people want to play, right? You've got games like Apex and the sort of Battle Royale Fortnite meta is just so big. If you're going to play a shooting game these days with your mates, you're more than likely going to play Valorant or COD, right? Like, I think Counter-Strike is the best, purest FPS game ever created. I think it's super simple, hold angles, competitive play, stuff like that. Bomb site, defuse bomb, plant bomb. There's no wall riding, there's no ships, there's no anything, right?
Yeah,
so I like all those types of things. It's just like a pure
rounded
FPS
shooter.
yeah. So, but I think in terms of like from a Twitch perspective and streaming perspective, I think there's just better games for people to stream it. I think that's why it didn't do as well on Twitch. Even if the content was great, I think things like Apex and stuff like Valorant will just pop off more, and especially COD, right? And then I'm not even mentioning Fortnite, and then, so many things, right?
Yeah. I think you're totally right. I don't think I never expected Halo to be the biggest, the most popular shooter, because I think it really is at its best as a competitive shooter, and that's not exciting for most people. The competitive streams so far have done pretty well. Locally, they do kind of like similar numbers to League of Legends. Globally, they don't do anywhere near the same numbers, but there's a big North American market, and the tournaments do. I think they did 100 and something thousand watching the finals and stuff like that. So I think there's a solid audience for like competitive gaming, but you're right. It's not as flashy as a bunch of the other games. In particular, I look at Apex Legends, and it's certainly like. It's not really clear why it's exciting unless you're a player.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily exciting to go like, oh wow, that person's like fucking hitting all their shots and playing the space and playing the abilities and playing the awareness as well as you possibly can without having been in that situation yourself. So
on this, I think it really does have a space. I think it is different enough to other shooters that it can carve out that thing of like, I go to Halo looking for something different than, like, I'm not really into battle royales. It's too much downtime for me. So I love Halo because it is so condensed. I think that it also has the chance to continue to be really successful. It's just the content slowdown was pretty huge. Yep. And there basically wasn't a content drop. There was a couple of like skin events coming out, and that was it. But it was all on the same maps and everything, and I think you're just competing against so many other games as a service that are just putting out new shit every couple of weeks. The last thing on this, I wonder if Microsoft look at this as a mistake to release it as early as they did. Like it got so much criticism for being delayed for so long, not coming out with the launch of the Xbox, and then they released the campaign, the multiplayer, a couple of weeks before the campaign. Then they released the campaign, and then it was like we're still working on everything, so we can't really take the time to focus on continuing to drop content for you. We're still implementing things into the game, full stop. And even though it got this huge bump in, was it November or December when it came out last year?
The multiplayer came out in November for the December launch of the game.
And that was huge. Like, that was massive. And so many people were playing it. So many people talking about how it's the best Halo ever, and it's the best Halo's ever been, and blah, blah, blah. And while that was so good then, I wonder if Microsoft are like, that was a mistake now, or it helped get a bunch of people into Game Pass, and that's their ultimate objective. And so they're drip feeding them more content in Game Pass, and Halo can wait because they can fix it, and it's still just going to be sitting there in your Game Pass ready to go. Yeah, it's interesting. The Halo release has been one of the most interesting release sagas of a video game.
Yeah, totally. And I think they had to release it because, people are like, the detractors are like, 6 years and this is the best they got. And it's like, that's definitely true. They were developing it for 6 years. They were developing it in this engine for 2, which isn't a long time to make a video game in an engine. There's a lot of management problems that happened. Well, adjustments, and they were problems, but they didn't land on an engine until way late in the piece.
You could also be overthinking it, right? They could literally just look at Halo as a pump and dump, though, right? And obviously keep the game there as consistent as they can for as many years as they can, because it'll always have a market, right? Whether it does well on Twitch or not doesn't lead to the success of a game, right? Some of the most successful games that are out there aren't successful on Twitch, right? So they literally could just be using the name Halo as a pump and dump, but they knew that this was just going to be huge on launch and then die down pretty quickly. So
yeah, I know
people don't want to hear that, but
I just don't think that's the case. I think
there's too much value behind Halo. I think as an IP exclusive to Microsoft for them to
and particularly,
do that. I think they're more likely looking at it as a long play of going like,
because that's the pump. I think it's a long pump, right? The play for them was to pump people,
and it's only $1,000. I'll give you a long pump in a bottle
for the next decade. That's definitely the play here. It's like, it's a big investment to build the thing, and then let's do content drops for the next 10 years and keep pulling money out of people.
Potentially.
Which, I think is what they were going for, but they haven't got the content. So what are people buying? And I think they just need to slow down. And I don't think we're going to see Halo really be consistently dropping content this year. It might be, my hope is that by the end of this year, the dev team are in a position where they're not behind the 8 ball, they're on top of everything, and their plans ahead are, all right, let's get the content rolling out now. But it's not going to happen.
Which is wild. Which is wild. All right, well, we'll be talking about Halo lots more throughout the year as they decide to release content. And then my story this week that caught my eye was Epic Games buying Bandcamp, which is a very... lots of people were like, this is a very strange move. Epic Games, known for making video games and making video game engines. They do some stuff in film, but mainly known for the game stuff, and then purchasing Bandcamp. There seem to be two sides to this. One is pro Epic, and one is very much pro Bandcamp. Bandcamp for is a music purchasing website distribution platform. It is famously very considerate and generous with the musicians who put music on there. They take a very low percentage of the sales. They help with distribution of merch and that sort of thing. And it just has so much goodwill. Like Bandcamp is one of those websites where everyone loves Bandcamp. And it's also famously independent. And Epic coming in, it's an undisclosed amount that they've bought it for. I assume it's a pretty big sale.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people going, what's going to happen to Bandcamp now? We can't answer that question. Hopefully it continues in some semblance of what it is now, because there doesn't seem to be a single problem with it and everyone loves it. But you don't buy something and just not do anything with it for its entire existence. So I don't think we're going to see a change in 12 months. But I think, in a couple of years, good or bad, there's going to be some changes coming to Bandcamp. We'll just have to see how that shakes out. But I'm more interested in what Epic's plans are. Panda, do you have any thoughts on what a company like Epic could do with a website like Bandcamp?
I think especially because you got games like Fortnite that include artists all the time. I think it's a really good and smart way for them to get around copyright laws with music. Right? If they own the label, and effectively they're probably buying the music library that's on Bandcamp already, and they can add that to any part of their game. Right? And you look at stuff like TikTok now, and you look at stuff like, mainly TikTok, where there's songs that come out 5 years ago on Bandcamp that are now getting 1 billion views across the platform in days because some song starts trending on TikTok. Mm-hmm. They have the rights to a lot of these songs, right? And majority of the songs are it's quite small independent artists that pop off on TikTok. It's not always like Amigos or someone really, really big that pops off. It'll be some acoustic artist, and someone makes a sad TikTok video. Here's my dog, and then they just put that, or this is my breakup song, and it pops off. How many artists have come out and been like, my song is number 1 on the charts right now, and it came out 10 years ago.
Totally. Right? Where would Stevie Nicks be without TikTok?
TikTok, yeah, exactly. I think that's a smart way
I will just point out
it. Right?
I will just point out, Lily Peppermint in the chat says Bandcamp is just distribution, no, not producing, releasing, which is true, but it gives Epic would have a much easier avenue of just getting the rights to these people, of just like, we are just going to pay you your fee through this thing that we already own, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I think it's much more access to these musicians than they traditionally would have had before.
That was sort of was what I was going to say, right? I think it just gives them that sort of bridge to then contact a lot of artists, and this is like just talking on a whim, right? I don't think that this is the exact reason, but I think it just opens the doors for them. They could, I don't know, like they could have so many things planned with it, like they're Epic Game Studios, right? Like it's literally called Epic Games. Maybe they're going to do Epic Music and then do the distribution and publishing themselves.
Yeah, I think that a big part of it is that they are diversifying.
This is their 7-Eleven. I was just going to say.
This is totally, yeah.
This is Tim Sweeney farting in a jar.
And it doesn't need to be, oh my God. It doesn't need to be necessarily just a games play. The other thing that Epic are trying to do, and they are very vocal on, is the idea of the metaverse. And it is much more than just video games. I mean, I say it's much more than video games. At the moment, it's nothing, and it's not a thing. But I think the idea of what people want it to be is some sort of like, you can go in there and maybe you can walk into I was about to say record store in the metaverse, but like it kind of would be something like that. You go in there and you can listen to music and find bands within this space. And this is just another thing that they can bolt onto this other thing that they're building, which is basically a portal to content. I did see some things floating around, which was, I mean, Epic are independent, technically. Tim Sweeney is the majority shareholder. He gets to say what happens with that company, but Tencent do own a 40% stake in Epic. And when they bought that 40% stake, they own a 40% stake in fucking everything. I'm surprised that they don't own a 40% stake in you, Panda.
Yeah, they did actually contract.
One of the things contingent on the 40% purchase of Epic's stock was that Epic transitioned to more of a games as a service model. And I have seen some people worried that one of the great things about Bandcamp is you can buy a piece of music, the consumer owns that piece of music, and the artist gets a fee for you buying that. And that hopefully Epic is not going to be looking at making some sort of like their own version of Spotify or something where you get a subscription and suddenly you get access to everything on Bandcamp, which would be a massive difference in the way that business operates and would piss so many musicians off. So, yeah. Pete, I don't know if you have anything else to add on this one?
Look, yeah, it's really hard to say what they'll do with it. Like, I think it's easy for us from the gaming sphere to look at Epic and go, oh, Fortnite. Like, and then try and work out how Bandcamp and Fortnite go together. Maybe they don't. Maybe I think Bandcamp has like moved close to $1 billion to artists. Like, it is a very functional business. It's not a business that's in turmoil. It could just be that they might have plans for Bandcamp that don't touch the gaming sphere, and I don't know. I have no idea what this purchase is about, honestly.
Well, the funny thing I would add to that is that it's interesting that Epic are in the middle of a lawsuit with Apple about the idea of like they don't like walled gardens, they don't like someone else saying you have to do things our way, and yet Epic are in a sense putting together all the pieces for their own version of a walled garden. Now, Bandcamp might stay exactly the thing that it is now, and actually Epic are just like, we just want a piece of that, and we want to have the goodwill that comes with buying Bandcamp. It's almost a purchase where you're like, this just makes us look good. We're associated with this thing that people love. Yeah. But if it isn't, then like to buy a company and particularly buying an independent platform like this and then fucking it up in some way seems counterintuitive to why you would purchase it in the first place. Yeah. It's just really fucking strange. I think that I don't use Bandcamp, but if I did, I would be really worried because I would be like, this is one of those places that that previously capitalism didn't touch, even though it's a sales platform. And it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. I guess my only thing is on a really like broad scope is that Epic have become more of an entertainment company than a game developer. The Unreal Engine's use in Hollywood is not insignificant, and is becoming more and more prevalent in rendering for CG spaces and for the technology that they use to make The Mandalorian. And so it's like it's a diversification in that, and it's also that Epic could become this like one-stop shop for studios to make content. Not just Disney, but they've got the access to the musicians, they've got access to the technology to create digital worlds, they've got all these things. So, and they've got Fortnite to market it through. So,
I think you hit the nail on the head with the metaverse thing, though, because they are one of the companies that is being very, very open about them wanting to get into that space, and this opens so many doors in terms of the metaverse stuff. Having something like Bandcamp, right? Where, like you said, you can literally buy the music in game rather than having to buy it out of game. And there is there is just so many options of doing that. Maybe in your metaverse house, if you've got the right to that music, you pay, I don't know, $4 for an album within the metaverse, and now you can play it within your house or however the metaverse works, right?
Totally, yeah.
I think that's very, very, very smart. And that would be smart for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the Pocketeers, Mito, messaged me over the weekend. I know him, and he has this great YouTube channel based around music, particularly in video games. And he said, "Well, it does seem on the surface to be a strange acquisition. It's worth noting that both Epic and Bandcamp share a very similar ethos in that they are both highly creator-centric at their core. Perhaps they're being entirely virtuous, and they want to do something similar as they did with ArtStation and bleed some of that Fortnite money to make it a more accessible platform. But what seems more likely to me is that Epic want a piece of the goodwill that Bandcamp has built up over the years as an independent platform that puts artists first. And that putting artists first is the thing that Epic say they do. They don't always follow through on that, and sometimes they don't credit people and steal shit and all that sort of stuff. But they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and you don't become a multi-billion-dollar company by keeping your hands clean the entire time. Yeah. All right, well, we'll see what's happening with Bandcamp over the next couple of years. That is literally all the video game news that you need to know.